This is going to be a quick video showing you how you can create text and number shaped designs using Inkscape as an SVG file and then import them into the Brother online scan and cut canvas software. Now, I've not got a Brother scan and cut yet. I'm thinking about buying one, but I still wanted to be able to design my own cutting files and then cut them. And according to the online canvas software, you can import SVG files. And in the past, I've created SVG files using Inkscape. So when I heard that you could do this, I thought, okay, I'll give it a go and see if I can import the files. And then if they look okay, that would hopefully make the decision to purchase the machine easier or not. Now, I started designing files a few days ago and I was having unreliable results bringing my designs into the Canvas software. It didn't seem to have a problem importing SVG files if they were made up of shapes. So if I created circles or polygons or triangles or any combination of those and welded them together. But I like to make shape cards, so cards in the shape of initials or numbers for birthday cards, 18, 21, etc. And for some reason, it wouldn't bring in my SVG files. I tried and tried for days, as I said, and just couldn't get it to work. So I emailed Brother Europe and they asked me to send a couple of the files that I'd designed, and they've emailed me back and said that they seem to think that there may be a bug in the system. But apparently in March 2014 there's going to be a software update and they're hoping that it will be fixed in there. But not to be deterred, I've carried on playing, and the way I'm going to show you now has worked consistently for me in that I can design the files this way, save them, and they will import into the online Canvas software. So I thought rather than try and do screenshots and type it all out, the easiest way would be to try and do a screen capture and show you what I'm doing. As I said, this particular way, it's the first step, which I'll tell you when we get to it, that seems to be what you have to do differently if you're using alphabets or numbers to create anything welded. Any other designs, you don't seem to need to do this, but just on these you do. So here goes. So for this tutorial, I'm just going to create a shape card that's in the shape of an ampersand. So I've got a 12 by 12 page as my default size. I'm going to click on the text icon. I've used Impact previously, so it's brought Impact up, and I find using 144 is a good size to start with. So I'm going to left click on the page and I'm going to use the Shift key on my keyboard, and above the number 7 is an ampersand. I'm going to select this icon over here on the left, which just selects that ampersand. Now, I like to work with a stroke line and no fill because I find it easier for when you're welding shapes together to see that they've welded. So while this is selected, if we come down to the bottom where it says stroke and right click and put black, that will give us a black outline. And if we right click on fill and put remove fill, this is what we see. Now, before we do anything, this is the step that I found you have to do when you're using letters or numbers. You don't have to do this if you're using any other shapes, but if for any reason you create files and you try to import them into Scan and Cut Canvas and it won't do it, then go back and do this and hopefully it'll work. So you have to go to Path and Union. I don't know why, but this is the way it seems to work. If anybody out there has got a way of making anything save as an SVG and import into Canvas without having to do this, please let me know. But this is the only way, as I said, I found to make it work. Now, we're going to resize this. So I'm just going to left click, drag this bottom right arrow out and just drag it out. I'm not worried about the size for now for this tutorial. It's just showing you how you get your SVG created and import. I'm going to drag it up to this top corner of my page just to give me a bit more working space here. Now, while it's selected, I'm going to click this duplicate button. I'm going to click it twice. That's now put 2 duplicates directly on top of the original. Hover over it until you see the little arrow and the hand. Left click and drag one of your duplicates down to the bottom of your page out of the way. That's going to create your topper for your card. Then left click on here to select the next one. And what we're going to do with this, because we want to make a card, it has to be mirrored. So we're going to, while this top one's selected, we're going to go over to this icon here and click flip horizontally. As you can see, it's flipped it. Now, using the left arrows on your keyboard, just hold onto your left arrow and keep pressing so you scoot it over. And we want a slight overlap so that we can then weld these shapes together. So as you can see, we're getting closer and closer and closer now. Now, they're not going to directly overlap evenly, because if you look at this ampersand, it's narrower here than it is here. So we're going to try and make this gap as small as possible here, just so long as they are overlapped to get the weld. And then this, unfortunately, is going to have more of an overlap, but we've got this topper, so that will be hidden when we fold the card in half. So now I'm just going to left click off to deselect. I'm going to drag a box around both so they're now both selected. While I've got these both selected, I'm going to come over here and click on the rectangular square icon. This line and this line are going to act as a guideline now for the next step. You don't have to do this. You could weld those two shapes together now as they are and you've got your shape card. But I want to put a little bit of a platform on it here to make it stand better. So on the end of here you can see there's a cross, and I'm going to line it up with this dotted line, and I'm going to left click and drag a box out till I get to the other side and just drag a box just by eye in depth, just as a kind of a platform for this card. Now I've let go and you can see it's there. I'm going to left click here so I select it, and again now using the arrows on my keyboard, but this time the down arrow, I'm going to scoot it down so I get an overlap here. Doesn't have to be much, as long as I get something. And that looks fine. Now I'm going to drag an imaginary box with my left mouse button pressed around both, and I'm going to go to Path Union, and that's now made our card. And we've got our ampersand. Now, this is the other step that I've found that you have to do to bring anything into online Canvas that involves a letter or a number. And basically what you need to do now is you need to union these, but you have to do them individually. So we'll left click and drag an imaginary box around this to select it and go to Path Union. And then click anywhere on the page to deselect that one and drag and left click round this. And I know we've unioned it once when we joined it together, but for some strange reason you seem to have to do this step again. So Path Union. Click off it anywhere on the page again to deselect. Now drag a box round both. That selects everything. I'm going to save this on the desktop so we know where it is. So we go File, Save As. You navigate to where you want to save it, but I'm using my desktop. Up at the top here, I'm going to call it ampersand card.svg. And down here it should say Inkscape SVG, and I'm going to click Save. Now that, in a minute, will put that SVG file on my desktop. I'm not going to close this because we may have to go back if it hasn't worked and try the Path Union again. But hopefully it will, and it has been doing consistently while I've been testing it out. But just to be on the safe side, we'll just minimise this out of the way. We won't close it. Now I'm going to open the Brother Online Scan and Cut canvas software. I'm already logged into my account. You can see a few here that I've already saved. I'm going to click on New. Now you need to go to Project and click on that, and down here's where all your projects are saved if you're saving them online, but you can save them to your computer or onto USB. But this is the option we want at the moment, Import SVG File. Now this is where you choose where you've saved it. So wherever you saved your file, that's where you go. Mine's on my desktop and it's called Ampersand. So I'm just going to click it and then I'm going to say OK, and hopefully it brings it in. As you can see, it's brought it in. Now from here, you can resize these if you want, but the only way I found to resize them is that you've got to group them. So if I just put that one on top of that one for now and select both, right click and group, you get the blue circles around the edge, and then you can resize it. And then to separate them, you've got to right click and ungroup, and then you can separate them, and you could cut that as your card and that as your topper. And because you've grouped them together and resized them, this is going to fit on top of here perfectly for your finished card. So I'm just going to group those again and resize them back down, right click and ungroup, and then I'm going to drag that down there, and then I can save this as a file. Now I'm going to give it a name, Ampersand 2, because I've actually already got one. And then if you click this button here, this will write your project to your project board, which is up here. You'll see, and then it says it's done it. Then from there, you can either go to your projects and click on the download button, or you can download it now and save it. I'll show you what I mean. So if you click download, it's given it its name, well, the name I gave it with the extension, and then it tells you here what to do. Right click, you click download, save as. I'm going to save it as on my desktop so I know where it is. This time you can see it's an FCM file, and I'm going to save it. Now I can close this. Now, if you don't have to download them, it's entirely up to you. You can keep them saved in the cloud online here, or you can save them to your computer. But if I not save this and then in a week's time I decide I want this card, all I would have to do would be to log into my online account, go to my projects. All your projects are all in here. As you can see, you've got the option. You can edit the current project, or you can download it again. So I hope you found this helpful. As I say, if you found another way that consistently imports SVG files, particularly that involve numbers or letters, and you found another way to do it, please let me know. But this is the only way I've found to do it using alphabetical or numbers. So I hope you found it helpful. And as I say, let me know if you find any other way. Thank you.